you learn so much, every day. I'd say the only downside was, as I said, the insane, crazy freaking hours that we all did was just,
What did a normal day look like for you this is from the very start, right? You're thrown in the deep end. A normal working day for you in that kitchen, what would that look like?
So basically, because I was living like 45 minutes away in Place de République, and I'd had to travel to Trocadero. So that was like, that was 4:45 a.m., wake up, or just before. I would then, get to sort of Trocadero. I was very quick at getting dressed in the morning, maximizing as much sleep as I could. I'd get out of my bed, get dressed, and leave in like literally 5 minutes, and so, I'd be literally by the address of where it was, 65 Poincaré, by sort of, 22, we'd meet before on the Trocadero, which is like 6 roads coming into the roundabout. We'd have a few hours of meet for a double espresso. I was sort of getting into my espressos every morning, the sudden hit. And then, get into the kitchen, be in the kitchen, change, ready to rock and roll by, 10 to 6, and then, you just crack on. I was under the wing of a guy that I was going to be taking over.
Right.
Again, I was with him, I was going to be with him for 3 months. And, every day was a different day in terms of what I did and was learning, and, but it was basically a mix of doing, sauce work, preparing sauces, or every section did their own garnish. So it was a mixture of doing some meat, some sauce, some garnish. And, you worked all the way through, there was lunch, but not really. I mean, it was a very quick, eat something 5 minutes, and then, you had to be ready on the dot of, 10 to 12. And at 11 o'clock, we kind of really all had to be ready, 11:15, to clean all your section down, clean the stoves. They were like shiny, and copper was polished and whatever. And, so we were ready to rock and roll by, 12 for lunch service. And, at that point, Pierre Koffmann was very vocal. He was calling out the checks and making sure that he was very good at communicating, making sure that everyone was working together. Here, Joel, was not sort of like that at all. The kitchen ran like with complete silence. You basically had, 30 chefs in that kitchen, all working. Once it was literally like, there was around 5 or 6 chefs. Larder had a lot of work. There was, a lot of, at that point, his style was a lot of intricate little details, a lot of dots, a lot of, things placed on. So there was at least 5, 6 chefs, in the larder. There was about 4 chefs on the veg section, then the hot section, then the fish section, and then the meat section. There was a lot of chefs. Hectic. I mean, even the guy on the veg section, because there's the famous potato puree they used to. That alone, would take him about an hour and a half to make, just the potato puree.
Flipping out.
Just the potato puree. So you can imagine why we needed to do, hours, it was crazy. Anyway, so, he would then start the service, call on checks, and everyone just used to say, "We chef, yes chef," You were never allowed to ask him what had he just been called. You're never allowed to go up and look at the checks. You never, you just could.
How did you learn those rules? Was it just told to you on the day one?
Yeah, it was just the way it was. And then you had to, you stuck a piece of tinfoil onto the side of the wall.
Yeah.
You put your table numbers, you put the time that it was on, and then, he would read out if you had, in terms of, meat preparation, because he also had 2 different tasting menus at a time, as well as the a la carte. So we had about 8 to 10 different main courses with specials as well. So it's quite a lot.
And the level of detail that goes into every single one of these dishes.
Yeah. So, but it was very methodical in terms of how everything was run, He was very conscious and very good at, relaying information, but it was only done once. That was it. And what I did find out is if you fucked something up there and then, you were gone.
How did you find that?
Well, because it was the guy that fucked up on my section.
What happened?
So we had this, and I hated this dish because of the garnish that was. So it was like so opulent. This dish, it was literally a whole pantad, so a whole roast guinea fowl for two. So a whole guinea fowl you have for two.
Yeah.
Alongside that, you would have on a foie gras, you have a big and a small piece. So you have the big piece of lobe of foie gras.
Yep.
So that was poêlée,
Right.
so pan fried when you were finishing roasting the pantad, the guinea fowl. You would also cook these moon-shaped potatoes, which took forever to do. So you'd have 10 of those each. So
Jeez.
yeah, 10, and they were like proper, like nice turned potatoes. They used to take forever to do. Then you'd have this, big piece of foie gras.
Yeah.
And that whole dish, we were like, going down now. Whenever that came on, you'd probably sell, 4 or 5 a service.
Is that special?
It was a special, yeah. And, it was a bitch of a dish, to get right. And so just cook the foie gras, cook potatoes, and everything was cooked in the same pan. So it was a beautiful dish. Anyway, on one service, he'd been there for, as I said, he was coming up to 2 years. He was leaving, and I think, he'd probably just done about 2 months with me. And then because he was still there, he was in charge. So he forgot to write down on the I had missed it because we took it in turns, someone who was in charge of writing,
right,
and someone who was in charge of, plating and doing all the cooking. Thank God it was him at that time. And, he forgot to put the guinea fowl in. And so Robuchon called away, envoyé, patate pour deux, la, la, la. And his face went white, so I knew instantly that he had fucking forgotten it.
What did he do?
So he basically, he said to the chef, I'd forgotten it. He obviously lost his mind and went nuts. And basically, he said to Pichivu, and, and he had to leave straight away. Boom, take his knives and go.
Wow.
He's gone.
What were you thinking at that point?
Oh shit, because I was in charge.
I was going to say also, there's no one, you haven't got to look at it.
And one of the sous chefs jumped on with me, and we finished the lunch service. But I was then kind of on my own with another chef. But I was then in charge, and so it was